After the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend, the discussion turned to how Iran might respond, as officials promised to retaliate. Monday it began with several missiles launched against the U.S. Al Udeid military base in Qatar. Officials said those missiles were intercepted. Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said an attack targeting the Al Udeid airbase is a flagrant violation of Qatar's sovereignty, airspace, and international law. Members of Congress are being briefed about the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities and more today, as some members question the strikes. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna and Republican Thomas Massie introduced a resolution that tried to block U.S. military action in Iran unless it's explicitly authorized by Congress. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said Monday,
"This is a dangerous moment that we're in, and we've got to get through what's in front of us. And what's in front of us right now is the Trump administration has a responsibility to come to Congress, justify its actions, for which we've seen no evidence to justify its offensive strike in Iran. And we also don't even know how effective the strike has been. There's zero evidence that I've seen that the nuclear program was completely and totally obliterated.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, a Democrat, introduced a resolution in the Senate insisting the strikes on Iran were unconstitutional. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Fox Business anchor Maria Bartiromo,
"This is not a war against Iran. The president told them if we don't get a deal, which is what he wanted, then I'll have to handle it differently." And that's what he did last night. He handled it differently. But that was an Iranian choice. We didn't make that choice. They did.
North Carolina Republican Congressman Pat Harrigan also told Bartiromo that while the constitutional power to declare war belongs to Congress,
I think the president is very clearly compliant with the War Powers Act here. The Supreme Court has never weighed in on the ongoing constitutional crisis that we have with Article 1, Section 8.
The War Powers Resolution from 1973 says the president has to notify Congress within 2 days of using military force on another country, and says that force cannot be involved for more than 60 days without congressional authorization.
Well, obviously, Congress has a role in the process here going through it. But I'd like to begin at the beginning with the president's action. He is commander-in-chief, and we all need to remember that, recognize that.
Nebraska Republican Senator Deb Fischer.
And his main constitutional duty is to protect this nation. So I believe that he has taken the necessary steps to ensure that Iran and its proxies don't obtain a nuclear weapon. We're going to be looking at a resolution. I believe Senator Kaine may be tweaking his, but we'll be looking at this week, most likely. I don't know for sure what his resolution will end up saying, but I think we have to keep in mind the president does have the authority. Under the War Powers Resolution that was passed, I think in reaction to the Vietnam War, there are certain timelines that a president has to make and notify Congress. We do know that congressional leadership was contacted by the administration, that leadership in the, I would say, key national security roles. It sounds like they received a heads up. And I know that within Congress, we're going to have I would say, robust debate as we continue on this. And it'll be especially after we have a briefing, which will be Tuesday, late afternoon.
Okay, very good. And having the assets in the region that we do have, helping Israel intercept missiles, defending our troops in the region, the thousands of troops we have stationed across the region, that means we're in more of a defensive posture, right? Does that matter here?
Well, I think we always have to make sure that we defend the people who are defending us. And we have, I think it's over 40,000 troops in the area. So obviously when we're seeing tensions rise because of the actions taken the other evening to take out the nuclear capabilities of Iran, tensions have risen. We've heard comments made from the government in Iran saying that our bases in the area are vulnerable to attacks from them. So, of course, we need to be very aware of that. The administration is, the military is. That show of force in the region is hopefully going to discourage Iran and any of their cohorts and proxies to stop them from doing anything.
Using the munitions we used over the weekend, the bombs, the assets we have in the region, this all costs money. The request is in for a more than 13% increase for the military budget for the next fiscal year. Is that going to be enough? Are we going to be talking about more money? I think we're over the $1 trillion mark for a military budget in terms of what we're talking about, right, for 2026?
Well, that's up for debate, too. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I'm second in seniority. I'm also on Appropriations Committee. And when I look at that $1 trillion figure, in my mind, that does not include the money under reconciliation. So there are many of us who are on those committees that want to make sure that, again, our first priority is, as members of Congress, is to defend this nation, is national security. And so we want to be able to continue with a number of programs that are going to be especially important to this country. Our nuclear modernization, that's a bedrock of our national security. That underpins every single decision made by the Department of Defense. So as we look at expending munitions now in Iran, that's just going to be another layer of cost that needs to be taken under consideration. Jessica, we live in an increasingly hostile world. We have peer competitors in China and Russia when it comes to nuclear weapons, when it comes to cyber activity. So we need to make sure that across our military and defense of this country, that all of those assets are not just improved, but we have to look at war in the future and what that means.
When you hear this talk about this debate about regime change, like the president's administration has said, that was not the point. We're not doing regime change. But the president has posted, while that term is politically incorrect, he wrote, I think we could pronounce it MAGA, Make Iran Great Again. And we've learned a lot of lessons about regime change in the past 20 years. Israel's prime minister had said, that would have to come from within. What do we know about the Iranian people and what they would want or need here and what our role is moving forward?
Well, our goal, our purpose of these strikes and moving ahead now is to prevent Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. This administration's been clear about it. I've been clear about it. I think the majority has been very clear about that. As for regime change, I would say that is up to the Iranian people. They will have to make that decision and determine what type of government and who would govern their country in the future.
And, when you hear on the political side of this, not just Democrats, but people within the president's base say, we should not be involved here at all. We should not have been involved here at all. We should not have done what happened over the weekend. What is your response? Like, are we safer today, or are the detractors, what do you make of what the detractors say, that we are not safer today?
When I hear death to America for decades and decades from a country, I believe them. When we hear Iran say death to America, we should all believe them. The president, I think, exhibited strength and leadership, and the people around the world know that America means what it says. We've gone through many, many administrations previously that have always said, Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon, but we never really saw much action. And I can tell you just from watching how the Iranians continued to move forward with the enriching uranium, first of all. And I think Secretary Rubio had a good discussion on a Sunday show about it, that 60% enrichment and what that means. It means it jumps to 90% pretty quickly. But to see that, and also the Iranians talking about developing a space program, and that's why they have ICBMs and are investing in building ICBMs? I don't think so. You know, we need to take our foreign adversaries at their word when they pledge they're going to destroy us.
Speaking of adversaries, the reaction of Chinese and Russian leaders has been very much in defense of Iran. Russian officials saying Iran has the right to defend itself. Chinese officials have been calling for de-escalation, but pointing the finger at Israel. I think Iran's foreign minister is in Moscow. What do you make of the adversaries' reaction in siding with Iran? I suppose it's not much of a surprise, but what do you make of it?
Well, again, it's not much of a surprise, not much of a surprise at all. These two countries have, I guess, made comments towards our country that I would say we all realize there are adversaries as well. I think if we see any type of retaliation from Iran against America, the president has said it's going to be met with even far greater force than the initial strikes.
Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you.